Former lightweight champion Islam Makachev recently spoke at a press conference in Russia, and his comments have generated significant discussion across the MMA world. When asked about who deserves the next shot at the 155-pound title, Makachev didn't hesitate. He firmly stated that Arman Tsarukyan is the most deserving contender. Makachev praised Tsarukyan's consistency, skill set, and steady growth over the past few years, noting that Arman has already proven himself against some of the toughest names in the division. According to Islam, a fight between Tsarukyan and featherweight champion Ilia Topuria is not only the matchup to make, but also one that could define the next true challenger at lightweight. Beyond matchmaking, Makachev expressed full confidence in Tsarukyan's chances of defeating Topuria. He explained that Arman's relentless wrestling pressure, combined with his ability to mix striking and grappling seamlessly, makes him a nightmare stylistic matchup for Topuria. While Ilia has been riding an incredible wave of momentum thanks to his dangerous striking and finishing ability, Islam believes Arman's pace and wrestling base would neutralize that threat and surprise many fans if the UFC books the fight. Makachev's endorsement carries weight, as few fighters have faced the level of competition he has. To many observers, his support almost feels like a passing of the torch, positioning Tsarukyan as the man who could soon dominate the lightweight division. Meanwhile, the featherweight class has also gained intrigue with the return of Bryce Mitchell. Known for his gritty style, strong grappling, and outspoken personality, Mitchell's comeback adds yet another dangerous name to an already stacked division. But Makachev didn't just weigh in on matchmaking. He also shared a broader perspective on the decline of American dominance in the UFC. A decade ago, US fighters held multiple championships across divisions, but today the landscape looks drastically different. In 2025, the United States has just one champion, Kayla Harrison, who won her title at UFC 3. With John Jones stepping away from competition, no American men currently hold UFC gold. According to Islam, the reason is simple. The UFC began signing more fighters from the Caucasus region, Dagestan, Chechnya, Georgia, and beyond. These athletes brought with them a unique mindset, one rooted not only in skill but in cultural responsibility. Makachev explained that fighters from his region don't fight only for themselves. They carry the pride of their families, communities, and republics. That weight of expectation, he believes, is what drives them to succeed at the highest levels. The results speak for themselves. Georgia has produced champions like Merab Davalishvili and Ilia Topuria. Dagestan continues to turn out world-class wrestlers, and Kazakhstan has already seen athletes rise to UFC gold. Each embodies the mentality of discipline, duty, and relentless determination that Makachev described. For Islam, the conclusion is clear. The era of Caucasus supremacy in the UFC is not on the horizon, it is already here. The Russian MMA scene was thrown into chaos after a shocking revelation from Kamil Gadzhov, the longtime matchmaker for Khabib Nurmagomedov's Eagle FC and one of the most respected voices in Russian MMA media. Gadzhov, who has spent years closely connected to Khabib's promotion and has built a reputation as a reliable insider covering Team Khabib and Dagestani fighters, recently dropped a bombshell during an interview with a Russian outlet. He claimed that he personally witnessed a sparring session between Khabib and Khamzat Chimaev while both were training in Dubai. For context, Khamzat spends significant time training in Dubai, while Khabib often travels there as well, particularly when overseeing training camps alongside American Kickboxing Academy affiliates. On this particular day, both men found themselves in the same gym surrounded by Dagestani fighters. After exchanging respectful greetings, they shocked everyone by agreeing to roll in a grappling sparring session. According to Gadzhov, Khamzat initially used his considerable size advantage to gain top control over Khabib. Being naturally bigger and stronger, Khamzat appeared to have the upper hand early. However, Khabib, known for his relentless composure and unmatched grappling IQ, quickly turned the tables. From the bottom position, the undefeated lightweight legend locked in a triangle choke and forced Khamzat to tap. That's right, Khabib reportedly submitted the newly crowned UFC middleweight champion during that sparring exchange. Gadzhov went further, making a bold claim about what this meant for future matchups. He argued this was proof that Islam Makachev would defeat Khamzat if the two ever met inside the octagon. In his view, Islam's submission arsenal mirrors Khabib's tight, suffocating style, which is fundamentally different from Khamzat's game. He emphasized that Khabib pulling off the submission despite being the smaller man was no training fluke, but a clear demonstration of how Dagestani fundamentals neutralize size and strength at the highest level. The matchmaker highlighted that grappling dominance has always been the cornerstone of both Khabib and Islam's success. Their transitions, pressure, and ability to control positions create a sense of inevitability for their opponents. Gadzov insisted that if Khabib could submit Khamzat in training, Islam absolutely has the tools to replicate that success under the bright lights of the UFC. He acknowledged Khamzat's power, athleticism, and unique style, but remained steadfast in his belief that Dagestani fundamentals would ultimately prevail. This revelation has sent shockwaves through the MMA world, especially given the ongoing speculation about a potential clash between Islam and Khamzat. The idea that Khabib, even years after retirement, could still dominate a current UFC champion in grappling adds another layer of intrigue. For fans, this story is more than just training room talk. It's a reminder of Khabib's legendary skill set and the continued dominance of Dagestan's fighters on the global stage. Whether or not this sparring story translates into an actual fight scenario, Kamil Gadzov's words have only amplified the buzz around what could become one of the biggest super fights in MMA history. Moving on in other news, Sean Strickland is once again making headlines for all the wrong reasons, and this time his target is none other than the newly crowned UFC middleweight champion, Khamzat. Following Khamzat's dominant victory over Dricus du Plessis, which secured him the undisputed title and extended his flawless professional record to 13-0, Strickland took to social media to unleash a barrage of controversial comments. In typical Strickland fashion, he didn't hold back, going as far as to label Khamzat a terrorist. The remark immediately sparked outrage across the MMA community. Unlike the usual trash talk fighters use to hype potential matchups, these comments cut much deeper, directly targeting Chimaev's ties to Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov, a political figure accused internationally of human rights abuses and authoritarian control. For Strickland, the issue is more than just fighting. He argues that having a UFC champion with such associations tarnishes the sport's reputation. On Instagram, he ranted about the state of the middleweight division, insisting that he is the only man capable of dethroning the undefeated champion. Strickland framed his position as both a personal mission and a moral responsibility, declaring that the UFC cannot afford to let someone with such controversial connections stand unchallenged at the top. There's no denying Chimaev's dominance inside the octagon. Against du Plessis, he dismantled his opponent with relentless grappling, suffocating pressure, and sheer willpower, leaving no doubts about his place as champion. Yet outside the cage, his political associations and personal ties continue to fuel heated debates that stretch far beyond sports. To many fans, Chimaev is an unstoppable force destined to run through the division. To critics like Strickland, however, his success is clouded by the political baggage he carries. What makes this moment even more compelling is the current state of the middleweight division. With du Plessis dethroned and Chimaev now sitting on the throne, the list of legitimate challengers is short, and Strickland wants his name at the top. He insists that no one else has the grit, toughness, or willingness to walk through fire with Chimaev. By making his comments as inflammatory as possible, Strickland has ensured that all eyes are now fixed on him. This war of words also highlights a larger reality within the UFC. Fighters' cultural ties, political connections, and personal affiliations are increasingly becoming part of the narrative. The conversation is no longer just about who wins and loses, it's about what those wins represent on a global stage. Strickland, whether calculated or reckless, has made himself the face of that debate. As things stand, the UFC has a major rivalry brewing. On one side is Chimaev, the undefeated, seemingly unstoppable champion with a rapidly growing fan base and undeniable star power. On the other is Strickland, the outspoken brawler who refuses to filter his words and claims he is the one man capable of bringing the champ down. Their eventual clash feels inevitable, and when it happens, it won't just be a fight, it will be a battle charged with controversy, intensity, and the kind of raw unpredictability that defines the UFC. At the end of the day, Strickland's words may be offensive and his delivery abrasive, but his impact is undeniable. By positioning himself as the sport's last line of resistance against Chimaev, he has ignited one of the most heated rivalries in recent UFC history. The road ahead promises fireworks, and when these two finally meet inside the octagon, the entire world will be watching. Finally, Tom Aspinall has fired back in a major way at Gane and his coach Fernand Lopez. Lopez, known for his outspoken and often unfiltered personality, recently accused Aspinall of being a loudmouth who spreads misinformation. According to Lopez, the British heavyweight has been exaggerating and twisting narratives, dismissing his comments as nothing more than whining. Aspinall wasted no time in responding, making it clear that Lopez's words are completely irrelevant and that nobody really cares what he has to say. From there, Aspinall shifted his focus directly to Gane. He brought up Gane's controversial fight against Alexander Volkov, stating that he personally believes Gane should have lost that matchup and that the judges made the wrong call. While some may consider that harsh criticism, Aspinall insisted his opinion isn't outrageous at all, pointing out that many fans watching live also felt Volkov had done enough to win. For Aspinall, that fight raised serious questions about Gane's ability to compete against elite heavyweights. When the inevitable topic of Jon Jones surfaced, Aspinall quickly shut it down. He urged fans to stop clinging to the hope of that matchup, saying Jones is not his focus and neither is the endless speculation surrounding Jones's future. Right now, Aspinall says his full attention is on Gane and delivering one of the most dangerous performances of his career. Aspinall explained that he thrives under pressure, and the stakes of this rivalry, combined with the rising tension between both camps, are exactly what push him to perform at his absolute best. He promised fans that when the cage door closes, he will deliver a destructive statement-making performance that leaves no doubt about who the better fighter is. For him, this fight is not just another matchup. It is an opportunity to make a definitive mark on the division and silence his critics once and for all. In his recent sit-down with Ariel Helwani, Aspinall doubled down on his stance. He rejected Lopez's attempts to paint him as a complainer, calling them not only false but also irrelevant. With all due respect, his opinion doesn't matter, Aspinall said. I'm just telling the facts from my side. I'm not trying to get under anyone's skin. This is simply the reality I lived. Whether he agrees or not doesn't change anything, because at the end of the day, we're fighting each other. Aspinall reminded everyone that on October 25th, all the talking will come to an end. We're both going to take our shirts off, put the gloves on, and see who wins, he declared. No amount of back and forth between coaches or media spin will matter once the cage closes. He even mocked Lopez a little, saying, "If the coach wants to get his feelings hurt or get his knickers in a twist, he can, but it won't change a thing." The heavyweight contender closed by reiterating that pressure brings out his most devastating performances, and he's more than ready to prove it against Gane. For Tom Aspinall, October 25th isn't about words or interviews, it's about action. After coming in significantly overweight for UFC 319 and subsequently being released from the promotion, it hasn't taken Brian Battle long to find new opportunities. Mike Perry's Dirty Boxing promotion has announced that the former 2F winner has signed with them and will make his promotional debut on August 29th. As of now, his opponent has yet to be announced. Meanwhile, former welterweight champion Leon Edwards is eager to return to action following his loss to Sean Brady this past March. Although he hasn't been officially booked, Edwards is targeting a spot on the UFC's next card at Madison Square Garden. While cornering his brother Fabian at a recent PFL event, Edwards shared his thoughts on his return. "November for sure. I think JDM is fighting Islam Makachev at MSG, so I want to be on the same card. I feel good. I've been training and helping Fabian in camp and I'm ready to go. I've waited for the division to settle a little bit and now I'm ready to make my run. I'm 1 or 2 fights away from getting my belt back, so I'm locking in and getting it done." Currently ranked number 4, Edwards is in prime position for a high-level matchup. Potential opponents could include Michael Morales, ranked number 7 and considered one of the fastest rising stars at welterweight. Another strong possibility is Carlos Prats, who has been campaigning for a fight with Edwards. Prats, however, is hoping to compete at the UFC's October 11th event in Rio de Janeiro. Speaking to James Lynch, the Brazilian striker expressed his ambitions. "There are 2 things I want. fighting in Brazil at UFC Rio, or fighting Leon Edwards. If both happen in Brazil, that would be amazing. I'm a huge fan of him and respect the guy, but I'm here to be a champion. To be the best, you have to beat the best. If I beat Leon Edwards, I'll be close to a title shot. Maybe 1 or 2 more fights and I'll be there. On a potential matchup with Edwards, Pratt's added, he's a really good grappler. He took down Kamaru Usman and Bilal Muhammad, so his skills are proven. But I'm excited for that challenge. It would be a dream come true to share the cage with him, and I think it would make for a very interesting fight. Pratt's also made it clear that he's open to other contenders as well, naming Michael Page, Joaquin Buckley, Michael Morales, and Bilal Muhammad as possible opponents. Following his devastating knockout of Jeff Neal at UFC 319, the question remains, who should Carlos Pratt face next?